Welcome to another luscious soul dive conversation where we're going to be talking into the discomfort of happiness. Yes, we are. My name is Lysa Black. I'm a heart healer, and I am so thrilled to be with two of my most favorite soul sisters. We all call ourselves the three business goddesses, and intuitive channel and healer Karina Leday. Is such an honor to be able to have you in this conversation. Welcome, darling.
Thank you, Lisa. This is like my favorite time of the month when we get to chat and share our chats also, because we kind of chat often anyway, but it's really nice to share it with other people too. So I do intuitive channeling and healing and mentoring for mostly women and a lot of entrepreneurs, but also for people who do not have a business. So super happy to be here with you tonight, and with Laura as well, Laura Waldman, the abundance activator and financial freedom expert. Hi, Laura.
Hi, thank you. It's really awesome to hang out with you all. It's so funny when we're kind of labeling ourselves, but it's also quite fun. But I feel really passionate about supporting conscious leaders, the conscious business owners, entrepreneurs on this planet, to really bring out the gifts that they're here to bring and share their full essence in the world. And we do that, or I do that, with money manifestation mastery. It's a lot of fun.
I think what's really exciting about this soul dive conversation is that we're talking into the discomfort of happiness, and you will probably already know us very well, or if not, we're very grateful to have you watching this with us. But for us, we really like to have our hearts open. We have been professionally in business as leading healers for some time now, and we really love to be able to show the reality of what it's actually like to seek your true dreams and desires and actually find yourself incredibly uncomfortable when they arrive. So if this is a conversation that is appealing to you, please stick around. This is going to be 30 minutes of a soul dive golden conversation where not only where we're going to be able to break down why it's so uncomfortable to actually allow ourselves to be happy, but sharing direct experiences of how we've done that, and also sharing powerful tips from our hearts and from our own healing practices to be able to support you to acclimatize yourself to accept a new level of happiness in your life.
Beautiful, Lisa. And it's so interesting because it's the irony, right, of calling something in, doing all the sometimes really hard work, right? The challenging, diving really deeply into all the shadow work and all the old stuff, and the releasing, where sometimes it feels like it's never going to end, right? And then you come back to the same thing and you keep calling in, and at some point you kind of lose hope, and then you gain it again somehow. And then when the beautiful things that we've been calling in actually come to us, we go, wow, that's so amazing. And then, oh, too much, right? Which I know when that happens to me, and it happens every time I reach like something really amazing happens that I've been calling in for some time, where for me it's usually, and this is true for all my clients as well, and it's just so interesting, when people are going, wow, that's so cool, we're so happy for you. And I feel this guilt for like, how come this is coming to me? Maybe someone needs it better, or that I didn't work hard enough for it. Because usually when it is coming, we're in a state of flow, right? That's why we're able to receive it. But the truth is, often we've been working and doing stuff and undoing stuff for years before those big visions come to fruition. So it's, for me, it's been a lot to do with like guilt and then like inner child stuff, because it often is asking us to step up. So being more visible, maybe touching, more people, or making more money. And that it's really a big shift, isn't it? And in our reality, in our business as well, and how other people see us. So I feel that it's also that fear of like, oh, I have to do this now. I have to be that person that I've been calling in. Mm-hmm. But then I find that the more I can just be with that, and not, because it's my head that gets tripped up a bit and emotionally. But when I sit with it, it feels amazing, right? So I try to like bring myself down and ground myself and allow my body to feel into it. Because usually it's the next right step for us. So it's not like it's just out of the blue happening overnight, but it does feel that way when it is coming to us. So that's been my kind of go-to things, I think: grounding, taking good care of my emotions, good care of my inner child, and sinking into my body, because my body is like, oh yeah, I can do this. How about you, Laura? How do you, because we talk about this a lot, because that's when we go, oh, Laura, Lysa.
Help me. It's such a massive topic, but I think this topic is one of the most fascinating, because for a lot of people, you know, I mean, I know with all of us as healers and coaches, people tend to arrive on our doorstep when they're in pain and suffering, they're stuck, or they're going through a really hard time. And, you know, we all got on our path from our own challenges as well. I most definitely did. I came to healing from a place of pain, of suffering. But when you have got to a certain level, I don't even want to call it a certain level, but when you've done a lot of inner work, you've done a lot of work and been on this path for a while, something starts to shift and change, which I think is really, really interesting. So if we found a way to move from pain and suffering and kind of drop that old story, then what? Then what are we stepping into? And I feel like we're training ourselves to find a new way of being that's beyond pain and suffering. And yet my belief is our whole society, everything is set up around struggle, around hard work, around pain, striving. It's not really about happiness and peace and joy, although that's what everyone wants. So when we actually start, you know, I've been finding this in my life, that the things I've been wanting and asking for and visioning for so long now are actually starting to show up. And I cannot get over how uncomfortable and terrifying that is. And it's like we're trying to stretch the muscle or stretch the comfort zone to allow freedom, to allow happiness, to allow peace, and just allow it to be there. And our default responses are so deeply programmed into pain and suffering that it's like, I don't even know, how do I do this? How do I hold this? And then create some kind of drama, get out of this space. Yeah. It's really uncomfortable. And this is what I find just so amazing, because most people, they would say, I want to be happy. I want to be joyful. I want to have love. I want to be in a loving relationship. I want to feel good about my body. I want to be fit. And yet the actions to actually get there can be so hard, because I think ultimately we're actually quite uncomfortable with really truly having what we desire, like happiness. It's a fascinating thing.
It is.
So what about you, Lysa? What do you...
Yeah, I think I love what you're saying, that we're almost predisposed to suffering and to the acceptance of turmoil and strife and hardship, and that there's something ennobling about that. And I'd agreed, there is a degree of that where I can accept and go, we are meant to use our suffering to refine us. But there needs to be a place that we get to where we actually allow that paradigm to fall away. And we can actually find this place. And, dealing with emotional volatility and emotional sensitivity in a lot of my clients, they kind of go through this process where they have these big ups and downs, and then they reach this kind of even keel. And when they first hit that even keel, I remember just listening to both of you, I remember getting this text from a client. She goes, there's this really weird feeling. And she's like, I don't know what it is. It's freaking me out. And then I just tuned in as a highly sensitive empath. I just felt into her emotional world, and I said, oh, darling, that's peace. And she was like, oh, what? She's like, oh, that's good. But initially, when she felt peace for maybe the first time in some decades, it was deeply disturbing. She was troubled. She's like, Lysa, there is something going wrong. There's this freaky feeling in my body, and I don't even know what it is. And I was just like, oh yeah, that's peace, hon. You want to get used to that one. But, we're talking about emotions like peace, love, and joy and happiness, that we do have almost an intolerance. And when I think about where that intolerance comes from, I think about our ego, and I think about all of our painful past experiences where our ego has constructed a list and gone, okay, based on those experiences, I'm going to protect you by not allowing you to experience anything that's new or foreign. So if you just happen to have one of those joyful, free, twirly kind of childhoods where you just were held in deep love and nurtured, and then you like showed up and you were shiny and everyone went, oh, look how shiny and beautiful you are, and they just held you in the perfect state of magnificence that you are, you would have a freaking rockin' adulthood. You would feel completely safe to be who you are and show up in your full power. But for some of us, and I actually believe many of us, who were not able to receive that response when they were little, whose parents were not able to receive that response when they were little, whose parents were not able, this is generational, that we haven't been received in our truth and our magnificence. We really go through this striving that we need to learn to freaking let go. That when we do heal these emotional patterns from the past and open up to peace, love, and joy, really be deeply connected to that part of ourselves that wants to sabotage it, and really lovingly look, like Karina said, with this fearful part of us or this scared little child, and reassure her that it's okay just to go a few more steps. We can always go back into pain and suffering and guilt and shame, but why not just take a few more steps into love and peace and joy, and just acclimatize ourselves to that and see how it feels.
Beautiful, Lysa. And it's also that like feeling safe enough to open up to feel happy, right? Because what if I let my guard down and I open up and I feel amazing? Then what? Is that really safe for me? And sometimes that can trigger us when it comes to like childhood memories, or just, I don't know, it's just so much stuff that can come up for us when we feel, when we let our guards down. But at the same time, it's so beautiful. And I find what you said, Lysa, as well, like just giving ourselves the time to get used to that, the next level of comfort, right? Because sometimes if it's like a lifelong pattern or ancestral pattern, then maybe we're not, it's not going to take us a day to, boom, I feel happy now and it's fine and it's not, it's not a big deal. Sometimes we need a bit more time, because although our souls can expand and go to the next level quite quickly, our body still needs some time to integrate, and our emotions need some time to integrate, and giving ourselves that time, I find is really, really important, because it's not a race, right? To me, it's more like, we want to grow and evolve, but we don't have to get to a certain point by a certain time. Like, it's just taking consistent action and moving towards is really important. And I find also for people who this has been coming up quite a lot for me lately with my clients, who are, actually a lot of them are quite sensitive and very empathic. And so for them, it's also to accept that they may need some extra time to get used to that. And for anyone who has like physical illness or chronic illnesses or anything like that, where it can be quite draining to change your energy state. So taking some extra time for that as well, and maybe calling in more support, especially in these times where the energy is so high and intense, and I don't usually feel things physically so much when something shifts, but the last year, 2 years, wow, it's been so full on and like super intense. So for anyone who feels that, to give your bodies some nurturing time, and maybe you need to incorporate more movement in your life. Maybe you need to, spend more time in nature again, and anything to help your body to adjust to that change as well. Because the happiness isn't just that expansive kind of spiritual state, it's the everyday being. And then our bodies need to feel happy too, right? Or we're gonna get really tense, and then we get other problems instead. So giving ourselves the time we need to adjust to that, so that we feel safe, and we can, and I guess it's like a habit, isn't it? Just like we had the habit to be in pain for many years, we need to recreate that habit of feeling safe enough to be happy and joyful. And the more you practice it, the more you go, actually, I really like this. This is good. And then you do it more and more, and then you become that joyful person or the happy person. And then it it shifts, right? Because it feels so rigid at times, who we are and what we're like, until we gently change that. And then one day we're like, oh, actually, I feel happy most of the time. I'm not depressed anymore, or whatever it is that we've been feeling.
Wow, this is a super deep conversation, isn't it? I mean, there's so much. We could probably talk for hours about this. But the thing that's coming up for me as you're speaking, Karina, is that integration time, I think, is important. It just takes a little while to adjust into a new climate or to a new time zone. We sometimes just need a bit of time to get back on track. What was coming into my awareness as you were speaking is, our pain and suffering, how I experience, is like this cloak. It sort of cloaks our soul. It hides our lights. It's not the truth of who we are. And so when we start shining brighter and sharing our joy and being happier, it's like we're really sharing our light. We're sharing our truth more and more with the world. And it's incredibly expansive. And it feels amazing. But then, and from that place, we don't have that same armor and protection that we're used to. It's like those walls that have kept us safe. You talked about a bit about feeling safe, and this has been my experience with really stepping up and rising up, is it feels very vulnerable and very, very exposed. And there's so many stories, and each and every person will have their own story about what happened in the past when you were happy. What happened if you did feel beautiful? What happened if, you did feel free? What happened if you were, wealthy, successful, whatever, in love? What came back at you from that place? And I think all of us probably have some kind of experience of there being some kind of negative experience from feeling good. And maybe someone was jealous, and I know little girls, maybe their mummies, maybe it wasn't okay to be happy because mummy was really depressed. So you had to, or maybe you were trying to keep mummy happy by not being too happy. So I know that's one of the last stories that's come up again and again with some clients of mine. There's so many things. Maybe sister was jealous if you were, too amazing, or the other person got all the attention, or I don't know. So we find ways to hide our light, our happiness, our joy, our sensuality, our power. And so then when we're rising up and we're saying, okay, I'm saying yes to happiness, I'm saying yes to success, I'm saying yes to freedom, it's like, oh my God, it actually feels like a real genuine threat up to your life to be that. So if I'm happy, is someone else going to feel unhappy? If I'm successful, is someone else going to be jealous? If I'm what is going to come back? And for me, it was very much this fear of attack, this fear of being persecuted, this fear of ridicule. That's one of my fear stories, is that if I really shine, that someone's going to throw shoot some bullets at me, or a bow and arrow or something. So it's a very, very vulnerable experience. So there is something about treading gently and kindly. And so I think this does come back to giving yourself time and space to integrate and to get used to. Because I found that actually every time I've expanded or stepped out of my comfort zone or taken that step that scares me so much, the thing that I was fearful of often doesn't really happen or doesn't happen the way I think it's going to happen. If it does, it's not that big deal anyway. So it's sort of giving yourself time to go, oh, it's like dipping your toe in and going, oh, actually, I'm all right. This is safe. Oh, it's okay. Or that happened and it wasn't that bad. I didn't die. And so I think that time to expand and get used to it and integrate can be important, which is maybe sometimes why things don't manifest as quickly as we'd like.
I love listening to you wise women. I'm like, yes, I relate to that. Like, I really remember, and you guys know I've shared this before, but that I've been waiting for someone else to go, Lysa, you're magnificent. You know what, Lysa, you can have what you want. You know what, Lysa, you're worthy. And I really felt myself in that position of waiting, and you got, oh, they didn't say it again. Oh, no, they didn't say it either. And you kind of really get passive. And I witnessed that for so long in myself. I clocked in and I was like, no one else is going to give me what I want. Good news. Who will? I will. And so I fully went, okay, Lysa, what you want, baby? And I showed up, and what I really realized is that there's a huge discomfort in actually taking responsibility for actually giving ourselves what we truly want, what we truly need. that many of us are actually in a position where we're so accommodating to other people with the secret intention that someday, some way, somehow, someone else is going to actually show up and give us back what we need. That is never happening. Like declaration to the world, no one is ever going to directly perceive your needs and show up with the precise thing, experience, way of being, way of knowing that's going to fulfill that for you. That I'm so grateful for that clock. So then I clocked over into, right, I'm here to give it to myself. So I consistently do a gratitude list every day and a desires list. And I've forced myself to do a desires list because I don't like to want anything that I don't have. I love everything that I have, but then I don't expand beyond that because it's uncomfortable. So what I've really noticed is that when we give ourselves what we really want, for me, permission to own my sensuality, for me, allowing myself to truly thrive as a professional healer who's well sought after, what I noticed is that you have to give other people permission to polarize in the way that they will. So I noticed that as I showed up and allowed myself to have what I wanted, and you can feel it when people are doing that for themselves. It's really powerful. And then I would really witness and acknowledge that everyone is free to either go, I'm not going to be like her, and fully walk away, or go, oh my God, how's she doing that? And draw in closer. That what we don't want, this beautiful cloak that you're talking about, Lara, is where we're hiding ourselves and hiding our truth, is that owning our magnificence and fully stepping up to shine, is that people are going to respond to that, how people are going to respond to that. And we want to control that. So we cloak it. So then we deny them the privilege of responding. So what I love knowing is that the way people respond to me has nothing to do with me and everything to do with their willingness to accept and embrace the truth of who they are. But I decided I wanted to be the person that could actually show up and give someone else a point of faith to go, here is a woman in existence who has decided to show up and invest in herself, the things that will bring her more happiness and joy and peace. And then they can either choose to draw nearer to that or freaking be repelled. And I'm like, move away. If you do not like this, it's only intensifying from here on out. You better step aside, people, because it's only getting better. And I think what's so interesting about the discomfort of all of this is I've really noticed this pattern, and I'd love to hear what you guys think as well, that it's often when our lives, I really notice what happens with my clients is that when they get into this where their work is going well and maybe their relationship is going well, that something will emerge. And it's often when we're actually in a position of safety and life is going actually quite well that some of our deepest wounds actually have the safety and the room to kind of emerge. And I think this is where we really fear happiness, because we go, if I keep allowing my life to improve, is there going to be more and more deeper, higher level crap surfacing?
That's a great question.
I don't know if you want to talk about that, Karina.
I think there's always going to be crap surfacing, really.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I'm like, oh, I hope I'm done with that, but usually I'm not. But what I do find is like the practice of going through stuff. It's like these cycles, and the first time you go through it, I remember the first time I felt resistance. I was like, oh, I'm not meant to be doing this work. It's the wrong thing. I'll just stop. And so I did, right? And then I learned that, well, resistance just means I'm getting closer to something important, and I have to work through it. And I go, oh, okay, I worked through it. This feels really great. I can keep walking now. And then I think we just keep circling back to some like certain patterns, and I guess until we've worked through them. But for the really deep ones, I think we're just going to keep coming back, I guess. But I feel that in a certain way, it feels lighter because I'm more detached to my own story, but also to, people around you. What you were saying about, how other people respond to us stepping into our light, because that's often what we fear. And I find that the more we focus on our mission, right? Because maybe we are not that important, but what we're here to bring out is really important. And maybe that's worth some people not liking us or thinking we're whatever. And then we got that kind of bigger mission coming through. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so worth working through all the crap and clearing out, because we're here to do big things, right? I think we all are. And if we get caught up in our emotions and we you know, we end up feeling like we're a victim of the circumstances and I can't do this because my mom couldn't, or this is how I am, then we're never going to be able to fulfill what we're here to do, right? And that has to be more important, I think. So yeah, I think there's always going to be more, but I guess we just learn from experience. And I find that I'm a lot more compassionate now than I used to be, because I used to be so hard on myself, like, you should know this, you've been through this, you were done last time and now you're here again, like, I would beat myself up. And now it's like, okay, another layer, that's awesome, you know, and then keep going, and it's fine if it's not done in this lifetime, just as long as we grow and we become lighter, and then we embrace more of our light and we share more of that, then we're good, right? We don't have to strive for this, I don't think. It's more like letting that cloak go little by little, and then if we need to put it back a little bit because it feels too scary, then that's okay. And just being gentler and kinder, because I think we're going at the exact pace we need to go at, and when we try to do more, we just get sick, or we get overwhelmed, or stuff happens that, you know, so that we can't move forward. So I think it's all like unfolding perfectly. We just have to get out of our own way and detach from what people think, or, you know, because it's people's opinions anyway. It doesn't really matter. Did I even answer your question?
Yeah, I love it. I love listening to you.
I forget what your question was now, Lysa. I've gone into this.
No, and you'll have something perfect just around the discomfort, that we're in a really good place. When we are really safe and loved and things are going well, it can actually be a prime time for our stuff to emerge, and it can look like, am I sabotaging my happiness? But it's actually, there's a level of safety and love we can sense in our lives that allows us to open to the next level of wounding that's asking for healing, so we can transition up into higher levels of happiness.
Yes, thank you for jogging my memory there. So do you know, I don't know if you've heard of Brene Brown's work. She's a vulnerability expert, and she speaks on this so beautifully, but she highlighted something when I was just reading her book, Daring Greatly, that something that I've done my whole life, which was basically this habit of preparing myself for the worst case scenario. So even I remember when I was 8 years old, I used to lie in bed and imagine my mom dying, and then imagine myself dying, and I'd go through all the worst case scenarios, and basically I've done this my whole life. So and what is amazing is Brene talked about this in her book, that this is something that people can often do when they feel vulnerable. So actually it's those moments where everything can be going great, and the mind goes, wait a minute, something bad is going to happen because everything's just good. And I definitely have this as a pattern that I have to watch. Like, if everything's great, it's like I have to be on the lookout for something bad. I prepare myself for the worst. So I've even done it with my kids, where I've imagined them all dying, and then I, you know, go through this whole thing of, you know, divorce or illness. And with everyone who's close to me, I start to, you know, so it's this really amazing thing I've watched myself do over the years, and I've done it my whole entire life. And I think it's that thing where when things are good, it's like trusting that, like, it can be good, or just letting it be good without having to be on the lookout, or what if this doesn't stay like this, you know? So then sometimes we're looking out for the bad stuff, but also I notice in myself, but also my clients and people around, that people create it, because it's almost like, I can't handle this because what if it goes? So what if I lose it? And so unconsciously, I see everyone doing this on some level, creating shit, creating pain, creating drama, because it just feels so vulnerable.
You're right.
This place of pain. So it creates space for all this deeper stuff to come up. And I also think we create the crap. I mean, I definitely do. And I think it's a fascinating thing of human beings. I think this is a very, very much a human thing. And then we go into victim, or we'll go into, oh, that's not fair, why is it happening? And all of us know, because we've done enough work around taking responsibility for your life, and you are the creator of your life, and how to manifest what you want. And then it's so fascinating, even with all that information, all the tools, and being able to help everyone else through it. Our clients, we can go, boom, 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 this is what you need to do. Watching it happen for yourself. I just think it's fascinating. I think we're such interesting creatures, you know? That's
I do. I think we're incredibly beautiful, interesting creatures that are worth a lifetime of observation and witnessing. That I guess I'm just reflecting on what you're saying for myself, that this has been the first time in my life I'm already getting vulnerable as I say this and already feeling the reluctance. I'll persevere and press on. That you know, we didn't have a house when I was a young girl, and I really, really wanted one. All last year I was really craving this home where my children could grow up and where I could feel really close to my husband. And over the last 12 months, my biggest dream was to be able to step into financial provider for my family, have my husband not need to do a job, retire him, and actually have a home of our own. And that just felt so immense and so huge. And within 12 months, it all just fell into place. And it's been so amazing to receive. But the more I allowed myself to enjoy it, the more it triggered me into a fear of loss, like you're saying, Lara, that imagining worst case scenario, now that I have this home around me, I feel so enfolded and I feel really held. It gives me this amazing base from which I feel like I can really continue to expand. Because when we're in survival mode, you don't have a lot of energy to expand. You can either protect or you can grow. And I really want to grow in this life. And so we moved into the house, and Karina was offering some loving guidance. Lysa, just give yourself lots of space to breathe it in and acclimatize. I'm trying to talk a little bit like Karina. It's going to be fine, Lysa. Everything will come together. Just allow yourself to relax into it. And I'm like, I love Karina, yes. And then really, you get soft, yeah? You get soft. You lay back, your heart opens, and then you go, and it's just like this fear where you trigger, where you go, I actually have it. Because when you're doing the renovations and then you're moving in and you're like, yeah, new bed, hi, new bed. Oh, I love you, new bed. And you're still superficial. And then a little bit of time you're sinking in. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm living in my own house. And then I went, what if I lost it? And I just fell apart. And so, you know, there is a discomfort of happiness here, and I'm really grateful for everyone who is watching this with us, because these are really, really important things to be aware of when you're intending and manifesting everything that you truly desire. And when I was in that place of intense fear, it really it just reminded me that everything is a composite in this life. For me to truly revel in the joy of having my own home always comes with the equal composite of deeply fearing that I could lose this thing. It's the exact same thing for true love, that when we finally meet someone that we just love and adore with our whole hearts, love and the fear of losing that love, our precious children, we adore them with a devotion that it's just out of this world. It's not a human level devotion we have to our babies. And when we receive them, the fear of losing them is as intense as the love. And it takes me back to a quote from Khalil Gibran, where he's talking about the deeper that sorrow carves into our bowl, the more joy we can contain. Now, that is really good for all of us to know, that all of our suffering has actually cultivated this capacity to receive joy. But I want to inversely flip it out the other way. The better you get at receiving, holding, allowing, welcoming joy and happiness into your life, you need to hold the tension that there will be an equal portion of fear of losing it all. So what do we do with that? What do we do with that space? And I go, none of this is real anyway. And if I have allowed myself to sit in a substandard life where I was miserable and where I really hated myself, purely to have different experiences on a contrasting level, even if I lose it all, I still want to give myself permission to experience the joy of knowing what it's like, whether I lose it or not. That's worth it. That's a worthwhile experience.
Wow. Yes, I love that, because it's like the black and white and the dark and the light, and like, how do we navigate all of that? And it's so interesting about you and your house, Lysa, because it's like one of those things where you're like, oh, if I can have that, and then you have, and you go, oh, scary, right? Because so many people are scared of losing their houses or losing their whatever. It's kind of interesting because I feel a great sense of detachment when it comes to my life. Maybe not my kids. But I kind of but I don't know if maybe that's because when I grew up, like my dad died really young. And so I feel like for many years I prepared myself for losing everything and everyone.
Yes.
I would do what Laura said. Like I would imagine like my mom dying, my sister dying. I'm like, okay, can I handle it? Yeah, I can handle it. And so it's like I would practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that it's like in one way I fully enjoy everything because I know life is short. And at the same time I think, well, if I lose it all tomorrow, well, it was really worth it to soak it all up today, right? Because I think with all the spiritual work, sometimes I feel like I've been trying to push away my human self, but human life is also suffering. And like the truth is we're all going to get older if we're lucky. We're going to get probably ill and we're going to die one day. And so that's kind of part of the journey. So how do we make the most of every day, knowing that this is what we choose when we come into a human life, right? It's not all going to be like expansion and joy, right? But when it's there, you just receive it, right? But then it's true that the more I open up, because you have to open up to receive more joy and more happiness, the more vulnerable you do feel. So I can feel that I get more emotional now than I used to. And like there's stuff I can't watch, like the news and like scary movies or anything. Like I just can't do that anymore. But at the same time, I don't know, I've got that thing in me where I'm enjoying every day, and I never, without it being morbid, you know, like I try to really make sure that I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm saying to people that I love them, and I don't wait for, I don't think I have the time to do everything. Like I'm just really conscious of that. And at the same time, I don't want to be scared all the time of losing what I have or of life being over. So I have to detach kind of from that. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen if these things actually happen in my real life, but it's got that going back and forth. And that's been a really big lesson for me with losing my dad, because it's like I'm so conscious of that, and I'm so mindful of I don't like complaining too much and being ungrateful and not making the most of things. And I don't like bad situations drawing out too long, because I'm like, life is short. You make the most of it, you know? So yeah, so just sharing kind of how I feel about that.
Man, I mean, it is interesting how I think we have this human desire to have these sustained states, right? These sustained states of happiness. I just want to be happy. I just want to be rich. I just want to be successful. I just want to as if it's going to flatline of like some level of like, there's happy line and you know, actually it's friggin' boring, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So life is colorful. Life is super colorful. And actually, I use this idea of death and the end of life as a way to motivate myself sometimes. So I'll say, right, if I'm getting scared of something, right? And or if I'm getting stuck and there's resistance, I'll go, okay, Laura, if you were given your death sentence and you knew you were gonna die in 6 months, but you'd be healthy up until then, what do you choose? And I'm like, I freaking write that book, or I get on that stage, or whatever it is. And so I'm like, right, well, you know, let's just appreciate what you've got in this life. We don't know what's going to happen. So let's rock it. Let's do it. So I think we can use some of this stuff to our advantage. And, you know, of course we're going to have times that are challenging. I think life actually would be boring without it. But I think the key is we just don't get stuck in the shit. You know, we don't get stuck there. And this is what I see. Most people just get in it and they can't get through it. And I'm like, we're all so passionate, but we actually can experience much more joy, much more ease, much more love than we've been willing to receive, because it's so vulnerable and uncomfortable. Yeah, life happens. There's going to be pain. There is. But we can navigate through it with greater ease, and we can flow out of it, you know, faster. We don't have to stay in it. So there is a dance, isn't there? It's not just about being happy, joy, but it's like, I think we're all here to, you know, help us all to expand more into that as much as humanly possible.
Aww, my heart is just basking in the glory of both of you. Like, I loved the last one so much, and this one is just fully topped up the soul tank. You know, you got the dribbles coming over out the side because it's just brimming to full. So we really hope that you've loved another soul dive with the 3 business goddesses. We hope that this topic of the discomfort of happiness has actually been illuminating for you, and that there's maybe been something that you can take away that will really bless you and help you, some guidance or a strategy or a little tip or a thought that can really help you be able to show up in your life and gently expand into allowing yourself to receive just a little fragment more of happiness than you've had before, because that's worth experiencing. So we are so excited to be offering these soul dive conversations with Karina and Lara and I every month, and we would love to know if there is a particular topic that you would like us to talk on, because there are no holds bars here, and then we want to show up, open our vulnerable hearts, and tell you about the reality of our lives, past, present, and what we're creating for our own future. So please send us a message or comment if you're watching the replay, or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and tell us what you'd really like, and we'll collate the ideas. And if we see some consistencies, we would love to be able to create a soul dive conversation for what you would like us to talk on. So thank you for watching this replay, and we're so grateful. Maybe we can do a bit of a shimmy shake out. We can be like,